Hey, what's up YouTube? So I've been working on the Z the past couple of days and I've actually got a lot of work done. A lot of it I didn't film, but I'm going to go ahead and go through and show you guys everything that I've gotten done on the car. So first things first, we can start with the fuel system. So I actually did get the fuel lines ran all the way up to the front. So you can see I got some fuel lines ran there. There's a little micron filter you see, and I've got the fuel lines tucked really well up to the body of the car, and basically the top of the trans tunnel all the way up to the front. All nice AN fittings. Came out pretty good, and if you've never done AN fittings before, trying to thread on the ends, it can be pretty painful. So that's done and over with. We can walk to the front of the car to show you where they come out at. So there's one AN fitting here with a 90, and this is just going to hook right to the back of the fuel line, like that. The water hose, I've got that hooked up as well. Looks like it might be touching just a little bit, but probably when I tighten it up, it'll be all right. But that is that. I've also got the fuel pressure regulator mounted to the intake manifold. So it's in a nice position. The gauge actually faces towards the inside there. You can't see it in this, but you can see it when it's in the car. And I'm just going to use that as a reference for whenever I first start the fuel system to see where it's at. And then I'm going to switch to the actual sensor. I've got an actual sensor here that'll tell the ECU what pressure I'm running. All right, I messed with that a little bit more, and fuel line is still touching that heater hose line, so I'm gonna have to figure something out there. I don't really like that. Don't need the coolant heating up the fuel anymore, so I'll have to fix that in a minute. But I do have some nice barb fittings going through the firewall here on both sides for the heater. So those are pretty nice, just some 5/8 fittings. And with the fuel system, got the injectors all installed. Some nice E85 injectors, pretty simple, along with the fuel rail. So just AN6 feed here, and then this is the return, which will go to the back of the fuel pressure regulator on the intake manifold. That'll bolt up. I also did the valve cover gasket on both sides. That was pretty simple, self-explanatory, no issues there. So now we can walk on to this side of the motor. I got a nice Turbo Guard air kind of filter. It's got a mesh screen on the front that will, you know, not necessarily filter the dust, but it will keep big particles from going in the turbo. Probably on a long trip, I'll throw an actual air cleaner on there, but you know, just for show, it's pretty cool having that Turbo Guard on there. Thermal Zero hooking me up with the turbo blanket and exhaust manifold wrap. I'm going to you know, wrap the whole exhaust manifold and then also the downpipe probably till about mid of the car. And yeah, got the exhaust downpipe pretty well, you know, it's just tacked in place, but it's good enough just to get it started. So weld a O2 sensor bung in there, and that'll be good. We've got the wastegate facing straight down there. I'll just leave it open, vent to the atmosphere as well, so you know it sounds nice and loud when the wastegate opens up. So I think that covers everything on the intake and exhaust side of the motor. Walk to the front. I did get a coolant line here from the port to the machine motor radiator. That was pretty nice, pretty simple, and fairly cheap to do. Came out pretty good. This actually slides in there a little bit more. You can see the clearance there. Came out pretty good. And then also I have the lower one. It's all bent up, but it's just not on the car. It's over here. So fairly easy to get that done. What else? Lots going on here. I've got the front bumper on. I've also mounted the 240Z grill. I wasn't sure if I was going to use, but I went ahead and mounted it. Fairly simple. This car is a 280Z, so it didn't bolt right up, but all I had to do was modify the brackets and give it some new bends, and you can see where it bolts in. I did have to drill just one hole, I believe in each side. I did use an existing hole, so one of them was already there, but I did drill one and it came out really nice. And then you can see right now I'm working on the lower splitter. So I've got it pretty well where I want it in the front. I have not done the sides yet, so I'm going to trim down the sides, but that is what I'm working on. But I got distracted and I wanted a jack point in the front. So actually right now I'm working on building a jack point utilizing those two bolt holes and those two right there. So I've got some leftover roll cage tubing here that I'm going to utilize, and I'm going to, use that and get it bolted in, and then I'll have a jack point that comes from that crossbar straight down into the center here, and it'll poke through this lower splitter maybe an inch. So I can easily jack up the front of the car while having this lower splitter on because it's going to go probably to the mid-engine. So it's going to be a nice skid plate for any debris, any bumps, rocks, whatever. Don't have to worry about that jumping up and hitting the motor. So I've got that in the works. Got a big sheet of I think it's 1/4 inch. It's like some kind of plastic from Menards. It's pretty cheap, and I'll cut that and trace it to pretty much look like this. So I've got a lot going on, and so I also actually mounted up the intercooler with that bracket here. This bolt and this bolt is for the bottom of the intercooler, and then I've got a bracket down there, this one, and then that bolt hole there for the oil cooler, and I'll bolt all that up later on in the video to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. And I also used riv nuts on pretty much everywhere I could, so that I'm not loosening the top and then having my other hand at the bottom holding the nut, because that's just a pain. So anywhere I can use riv nuts, I will. That'll just make everything a lot easier. And yeah, so these are the oil cooler lines. So nice Mishimoto pieces, and got these ran through just that OEM hole there and ran around. I built a little bracket here using the original hole in the frame rail to hold those over, and then they go under the motor from this side. So there's the sandwich plate and those oil lines going across. Got the oil filter, and then here is the temperature sensor, and here is the pressure sensor. So I'll have both of those sensors. I got them tapped into the side of the sandwich plate, and those will go to the ECU. So I've got that all set up. And I almost forgot, I got a little bit of work done in the interior. So we've got the switch panel installed and built. So my girlfriend and I basically built this out of some thin sheet metal and started with cardboard, and shaped it into what you see now. And we've got some, this is just the bare template, and then we're gonna cut holes for some gauges, the switches, probably put the gauges down there for that flat piece. But yeah, that is that. And I've also got this little piece here where I will probably put another gauge or two, probably the turn signal switch, since it's really close. You can just use the right hand really easy and flip the switch for the turn signals. But yeah, I got this done and it looks really sweet. And so for that jack point, right now I am building the bolt-in mounts that the bar will weld to. It's going to be fully removable, and so I've got the template traced out on this pretty thick metal here, and I'm going to get this cut out and drill the holes, and then we'll be able to bolt it in and weld, well, start to fit this bigger pipe. It pretty much fits, but we'll need some fine tuning, and then build the pipe that goes straight down to the ground for the jack. So yeah, I'm going to get this cut out. Alright, so I got those little mounting plates cut out and then the holes drilled for them. You can see them over there on the side. And they bolt up well. And I've got the bar in the spot that I'm going to go ahead and weld it. Give you an idea here. I wanted it to be hidden behind the bumper, like if you're going to be looking at it. So you can see the corners of it, but you can't see the center. You'll just see the pole going straight down, like that black little piece of radiator hose that I got left over holding it up. So I'm ready to tack it in place. Unfortunately, the bracket that I made for the intercooler was hitting on the corners. So it is not bolted in. I'm going to have to scoot it back some. But that's really no problem. And then I've got the oil cooler here, and I just needed to make sure I had enough space to get the AN fittings on, which I do. So it is ready to be tacked in. Once I tack that in, I'll probably rebuild the bracket for the intercooler so it can sit straight up, but it's just going to be back towards the radiator more. Alright, so last clip you saw me tacking in the front jack point bar, and so yeah, it's tacked in and it's there. And so I went ahead and fixed the intercooler and spaced it back some. So that is all mounted now. It's got some room there, and I'll show you what I did. So there you can see where the original hole furthest away used to be, and so I just added a bit more metal there. You can see those welds, and just scooted it back on both sides. And also got the lines plumbed for the oil cooler, and everything's going pretty good. It's a tight fit, but I can work with it. Now I'm going to kind of mock up and see what kind of ducting I can do, basically for the top here, something to bolt down the intercooler from the top, and then possibly some kind of ducting that kind of directs the air towards the center on both sides. I'm going to play with it. There's not much room since I do have, the turn signals. So I'm going to go ahead and see what I can come up with. And also you can see where that jack point is going to fit nicely straight down right through here. So that'll be nice. Alright, so I've kind of got my ducting built out of cardboard here. It's kind of falling down, but I've got the basic shape and template. And now I'm going to go ahead and trace it to some sheet metal. Alright, so I've got the ducting transferred from cardboard to sheet metal. Got it all built out. So that's going to provide some nice directional wind to the radiator there. It's probably not totally necessary that I needed to build this, but these JZs do like to run hot. Even though I did buy a cowl for the back of the radiator here and have two 12-inch SPAL fans. So probably a little overboard to build this, but it was fairly easy, so I went ahead and built it, and then I still needed to secure the top of the intercooler with something. And then I'll cut out holes in the sides for the intercooler piping. But what I did, I got a long M8 bolt to screw down to the top. Unfortunately, they didn't have any like open-ended where there's threads on both sides. So I've got it taped here to where I want to cut it. and I'm going to cut the head off of this bolt, and then I'll be able to screw it down, and I'll show you. I'm going to put 2 nuts on the bottom to kind of hold it, and then 1 nut on the top, and it'll screw down and be tight. And that will secure the top of the intercooler. So I'm going to get those cut. Alright, so there it is, all tightened down for the most part, and I'll show you how I did these top 2 bolts here. So after I cut that long bolt, the head off, I threaded 2 nuts and tightened them against each other, and then I have a nylon nut here at the top. So it kind of is adjustable. It's going to be really close to the hood, so if I need to angle the top of it down, I can. So that's pretty good, and this thing is really solid. It's really in there, and I don't even have all the screws up under the radiator support screwed in. Those are all riv nuts as well. There's like 5 of them and all that. So this is where I'm going to end it for this video. Got a lot done, a lot of progress on the front end here. In the next video, you can definitely expect we're going to get this big sheet of plastic made into a under tray splitter. So definitely expect that. We're going to knock that out. But a lot of work done. I'm really happy with this front jack point. That's going to make things a lot easier. And it wasn't too hard to build, just some leftover roll cage. So we're going to get that built too. When we build the under tray, we'll get a bar pointing straight down that sticks out under maybe not 1/4 inch, but maybe 1/2 inch, so that it's reachable and you can get to it. So alright, that's where I'm going to end this one. I want to get this video out to you guys so you can see the progress, and stay tuned for the next one. See ya!